Today's video is titled, Here's Why No One Will Believe You. I mentioned in previous videos that when you try to explain yourself to people and when you try to clarify things, it magnifies the emotional abuse that you're already experiencing, and it sends you into an even bigger psychological disorientation. So in this video, I'm going to unpack reasons why no one is going to believe you, and also help give you some tips on how you can better regulate your emotions so that you can heal in a healthy way and take the right steps that are going to be conducive for you, rather than trying to prove your point and almost driving yourself crazy. Okay, so let's first understand how the narcissistic family cult is derived. It is said that every relationship has a fantasy, okay? And in the narcissistic family, roles are assigned by those higher up in the hierarchy. That would be the parents, or in other cases, such as what I've experienced, it's generational. I haven't really figured out if it's hereditary or it happens naturally, or it happens along the way, but nonetheless it happens. So when there is someone that is enforcing narcissism in the family, they definitely assign roles to children. They assign that, okay, this one is going to be the bad one, the scapegoat, the one that we don't listen to, the one who's always wrong, the one we invalidate, the one that must just be and do whatever that we want. They're not allowed to be themselves. This one is not going to be allowed to be a human being. They must only be what we want them to be. If they don't want to be that, then we destroy them. Okay, that's the scapegoat. Then they go to the golden child role, and they again assign to a specific child. So this would be families that have kids that are more than two. Then they would determine that, okay, the golden child is the one that is treated with the utmost love, respect. We listen, we care about them, we take care of them. You can add on the list all the things that a child would love and want. Those get assigned to the golden child. And then these other ones, if maybe it's a family that is consists of more than 2 kids, the other ones are just going to be like secondary golden children, if I may put it that way. But the main idea is that there has to be a scapegoat, and then there has to be a golden child. And before we go further, I just want to emphasize this. Although the abuse is mostly felt and experienced by the scapegoat, children from narcissistic families all suffer abuse. They all suffer abuse. It may be on different levels, but it psychologically and emotionally impacts children to be in that dynamic, because even from a very young age, kids can tell unfair behavior. There are some instances where the golden child is gonna be able to identify that, wait a minute, dad is not treating my brother the same way he's treating me. He gave me 2 sticks of chocolate, but he didn't give him any, and the child is gonna, so whether you're the golden child or the scapegoat, it's bad. But these videos are mostly from a scapegoat perspective, because remember, scapegoats are the children that are never listened to. So they live their whole lives completely isolated. You know, it's like they don't exist because they've been smeared in their relatives, in their social circles, so they do not have a voice. So although this channel is mostly about those kind of individuals, I am going to just give a broader understanding of everything else that is a result of narcissistic abuse. To get started, let's first have a look at the benefits of having a scapegoat. You are probably familiar with the term generational curses. So it's more of that kind of thing. But I'm not going to call it generational curses because it's not a curse. Things that human beings do to other people are 100% premeditated and calculative. So there's just no way that it is a curse. It is just only a series of lack of accountability, lack of self-regulation, and a lack of self-confrontation. That's all it is. And when people do not want to confront themselves in certain areas or on certain subjects, maybe that induce trauma or that induce trauma that was projected onto them, they prefer to just pay it forward in the negative way. They just prefer to project the trauma on someone else. So that's the benefit. That's what narcissistic abuse is all about. So when parents allocate the role of the scapegoat child, they're in essence saying, okay, you know what? I don't need to deal with what my mom did to me or what my dad did to me. I don't need to deal with my childhood experience. I don't need to even look at it. I can just project it onto this child and ease the burden of responsibility on myself, because scapegoat children, I like to call them self-raising muffins or cupcakes because they are left out in the cold when it comes to a lot of things that get done for other kids. They do not get those kind of benefits in childhood. Okay, so that is the core benefit. And then secondly, from what I have discovered and seen, is that scapegoats are servants. You get to be the servant. You are the child that is called to come and entertain. In movies when parents adopt a child from some poor community, and then that child just gets to be dragged along to do every silly little thing. Maybe if they are guests over, that child is called that they should come dance for the guests. They are the one that are given all the chores, that kind of a vibe. They are the one that, if there are other children that come up in the family, the scapegoat child is the one that gets to do all of those things. If someone is sick, the scapegoat child is told to take care of the sick person, and all these things, they are not imposed directly for the horror of them. They are subliminal. They are enforced and masked with guilt. For example, let's take the one for taking care of the sick. You will be told something like, it's a good thing to take care of the sick, why, this is your grandma or this is your aunt or whatever. You should take care of them, help them, whatever. Fine, granted. That is a very noble and beautiful thing to tell a child, but it is no child's place to take care of an elderly sick person. If there are other adults in the household, they are the ones that should be taking care of people that are not in good health. The child should be out there playing like other kids, So having a scapegoat role is a big benefit because the adults get to sit back, roll their arms, put up their feet, and just order them around, not directly, but they guilt trip children, because remember, children do not have the emotional intelligence. They listen and trust that what the authority is telling them, in this case the parent or the relative is telling them, is the right thing. So it's only when we grow up and we learn and realize that I was actually just fulfilling the scapegoat role. Because if, let's say for example, you have siblings, you will begin to identify that, well, wait a minute, I got to do all these things, but they would not dare tell them to do those things, So that is when all these things get to dawn on you, that you were just being gaslit and emotionally manipulated because you were too young to understand. And now that we are older, the scapegoat child needs to be healed, and the scapegoat adult also needs to be healed, because unfortunately the effects of being a scapegoat, they do not end in childhood. You take them with to adulthood, whether you like it or not. It's not a thing of being stuck in the past and whatever. The things that we experience, especially in family dynamics, they carry on, they don't stop. Because guess what? Senior citizens are stuck in their ways. Well, one might say, you're just being so hard, our parents are victims of their circumstances, which was a phrase that I always was told, which basically is saying, just allow her to say whatever she wants to say to you, treat you however she wants to treat you. Just allow it, just have compassion towards her. Just allow it, I mean, no, of course not. So this thing of being scapegoated, it carries on in adulthood, because the parents get so used to it that you just take it. Because remember, when you were a child, you didn't have a choice but to take it, because you were oblivious, you didn't know anything. But then when you're an adult, you start to push back, and now it's like, excuse me, what? What do you mean no? Why are you confronting me on this? Why are you being so sensitive? If you try to tell them how they're making you feel, you're gonna be told you're being too sensitive. If you try to set a boundary of how you want to be treated and informing people, it's going to be unacceptable, because they've treated you that way your entire life when you were still unaware. Now that you're aware, it's then gonna be a big problem, because you are not acting according to the program that they have cut out for the scapegoat role. Some may argue that, well, it's easier for our generation to address such things because we have all these terms for it. We have all this knowledge, but I beg to differ. Linguistic evolution aside, I strongly believe that everything that God created innately in us is sufficient to guide us towards quality human relations. The same way as you would see animals in wildlife, they have an innate guiding system. It's called instincts that tell them they do not know how to read, they can't speak, but the mechanism that God created within them is sufficient to guide and inform them. It tells them when they're in danger. It tells them when danger is coming. It tells them that, okay, you're safe here. It gives them those emotions of joy, or causes them to cry when they've lost a child. So we are also like that. And to further validate this, it's because the reason why I say terminology is not that important. Yes, it's good because it's helping us now have a specific word that we can use to describe a phenomenon, but then children know everything that they're experiencing. Children can tell based on their senses alone. They can tell if something is good for them or if it's not. If someone is right for them or they're not. They can sense when they are not safe around someone or when they are safe around someone. And this is also why we remember our childhood experiences, because that is how God designed us. So for this reason, I absolutely just don't agree with someone who's going to tell me that, oh, they're just victims of their circumstances. No, they chose not to stand up for themselves. If your instinct and your gut is telling you that this is not good for me, and you insist on being in a place that your gut system is telling you you have no business being in, if your instinct is telling you that this person is not your kind of person, they are, they offset, they make your nervous system busy and sick and upset, and then you insist, no, guys, let's stop making excuses for people. Let us stop making excuses for people. And to just tie in everything I said, well, if they are victims of their circumstances, so tell me, why are they projecting it? Why are they enforcing it on someone else? A child, even. Why? Why is it? If they are a victim, because a true victim is someone that understands the depth of the pain a certain incident had on them. It's someone who understands the impact it has had on their life and would not dare want to do it to someone else. But with narcissists, they calculate, they premeditate, they plan everything. They make sure that they cover all the ground, they cover all their steps. And normally, people that make excuses for others are enablers, flying monkeys, and golden children. It benefits them to have someone that can be their emotional punching bag, someone that they can take out their frustrations on. It benefits them. And the same behavior that a narcissistic parent imposes on a scapegoat child is the same thing that golden children are going to do to that child. It's no different. Because they've seen that, oh, okay, dad treats our brother like he's nothing. So why should we treat him any better? Dad knows best. But again, it's all premeditated. We grow up. There are things that we can do as children and get away with it and be like, okay, I was a kid. We grow up. At a certain point in your life, you get very aware. You get very clear on what's right and what's wrong. The veil of oblivion gets lifted. So you have no excuse. You do not have ground to stand on and say, oh, but I didn't know. Oh, I meant the best. No, guys. And here's what I love the most, especially because I have directed the series on Christianity and the Christian family dynamic. What I love the most is once a scapegoat child gets back up on their feet, solidifies themselves in God. Ephesians 5 verse 11, when it says God exposes things, you just now get to just sit back and watch the show. There's no better vengeance than God's vengeance. There's no better expose than God's expose. God is top tier when it comes to ending that Goliath spirit, that heroic spirit, the mockers and scorners. And so the reason why no one will believe you is on the premise that the narcissist has gone ahead and laid a very thick foundation of being the victim. So by the time that you come with your side of the story or with just a report of what you're dealing with that person, you just look crazy because, it just looks like some weird deja vu, because the listener, who is usually the enabler and the flying monkey, they look at you like, oh, she told me you were gonna come and say this. Oh, he already told me you were gonna come and complain about something like this. So that then makes the true victim look like they're crazy. So again, remember, on this channel, I'm giving examples based on the Christian dynamic within the family unit, but it's also applicable in the workplace, in relationships, friendships, in any kind of human relation. There will be some kind of dynamic. It can go two ways. It can either be healthy or unhealthy. And when there are unhealthy patterns, that is where we can trace back all these characteristics and traits that reveal and expose people's hidden narcissistic manipulative behaviors. So, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have gained a lot on this video. And just remember, just because no one believes you, it doesn't mean that you are not telling the truth. It doesn't invalidate your feelings or your experience. And the whole purpose of this channel and all these other channels that have now just come up is to say, we know, we understand, we've experienced what you may have experienced or are currently experiencing, and everyone else doesn't have to get it. It's fine, because we unfortunately fall in the trap of wanting to be understood and heard by our circles, your Christian circle or your social circle, but then unaware that those people are already contaminated by the narcissist and their ears are deaf because the narcissist has gone ahead and laid the foundation. So myself and all these other people that are coming out to expose and speak up on narcissism, it's because the time has come. God has said it's enough. Enough is enough. His children have been suffering for so long. So many people have been suffering a lot of abuse, others to the point of unaliving themselves. And because it is written in Ephesians 5 verse 11 that the Lord exposes everything that is hidden, this is the reason why we have now emerged in social media across all social platforms as whistleblowers, as voices of the voiceless. So please stay blessed, keep well. I will see you on the next one. Bye.